I am Tom at Just One Pack, and this is AC On, the short Alpha Clash podcast, where I talk all things Alpha Clash on my way to work. And this morning, I want to talk to you about a sort of an adjacent topic, rather than the game itself. I want to talk about community. So, let's dig into that. I was at ClashCon not long ago. Has been 2 weeks already. At ClashCon, I met a bloke who was playing with physical cards for the first time. Now, the reason he was playing with physical cards was for the first time, was that he had not found a community to be a part of. And that sort of made me think that the whole aspect of community building is both one of the more difficult things about a TCG, but also one of the more important things. So, in my opinion, there needs to be something that keeps us interested in a card game, in anything, but we're talking about TCGs and Alpha Clash in specifics. There needs to be something that holds our attention to the game, and one of the most efficient ways to do that is a community. Some other people to share the ideas and the interest with. This is true for all hobbies, but we are using up quite a lot of our money, a lot of us, to engage with the card game of choice. So having a community around is really, really important. Now, it is not easy to create such a community. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a guru into how to create communities. Not at all. I am at best struggling to do that. But there are some limitations to doing it. Something that for niche games that does not have a big IP and a load of commercial budget needs to be solved by community growing itself, rather than they're relying on sort of a push strategy. It is something that needs to be pulled out through the stores and through the community by the community. So that's a very hard thing. It's sort of a chicken and egg problem. Now, that being said, having a full-time job, which I do, and other hobbies and responsibilities, I can't necessarily go to one of the game stores in my local area to try and create a community there in the traditional sense. And that may not be the really important way to do it either. So my point with that is that we usually think about communication by having a local game store and having them be sort of the central hub for the gameplay. Now, I would argue that while local game stores are really important in that ecosystem, they are not the only ecosystem, or the only base for the ecosystem. We talk a lot about the kitchen table, but I think it extends far beyond the kitchen table. So kitchen table, playing at the kitchen table, I might say kitchen table magic. Oh, it's not good. Kitchen table play is a social activity, but also rarely something that happens on any type of regular schedule. And it can be so hard for an entire group to change their game from, say, Magic to something like Alpha Clash. That needs is a common interest and something that triggers all at once. But I do think that is a viable part. The other thing, and this might be one of the strong, because you don't get new people into it in at the kitchen table. I mean, randos don't usually show up at my kitchen table, and I suspect at very few kitchen tables. So the other way that people are playing, and I can look in my local area, there is a game store that has regular game nights, not for Clash. If I go in one direction, if I go in another direction, there's a club that does Magic and pen and paper role playing, miniature games like Warhammer. That club has a regular schedule, but it's not tied to a specific store. And if I don't want to leave my own city, go to the city over, one city over, I will have to go to the community center and hope I can convince someone there to play the game. In all of these, not being the LDS, someone else has to be sort of the focal point, the driver of these communities, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, which some of us might not have, especially if you're getting older and having kids and stuff like that, which a lot of us are. So we might need a little more help to get that going. Is my take on it. And what do I mean by that? Well, there are a few things. So one thing is that the folks at Rising Empire Studio has announced this ambassador program, which is a great thing. It works perfectly in the scheme where you're going to local game stores and trying to persuade them. I was on the first, back at the very early days, I was an ambassador in the first go-around, and I almost ran out of demo decks, which is perfect, which is sort of the point. But I was also trying to find local game stores that were interested in hosting events, and sort of being, I couldn't go there every week, but I could go there 3 or 4 weeks to get things started. And there was a lot of resistance in that. The number of trading card games on the market sort of had them saturated, and they couldn't find time or energy to do another one, knowing full well that at some point they will have to be the ones who arrange this to happen. So as a community, you sort of have to go another way in that case, because there are loads and loads and loads of trading card games out there. Now, and Alpha Clash, even though it is one of the better ones, is just not, there's enough marketing push, and there won't be, so we have to do that community-wise. Now, that leads me to these other ways, the other places to play these things, and a couple of things that lack tools we are lacking. So one of the things that is nice with something like a game store is that people come there naturally. That is one of the big benefits of a game store, is that people will actually show up naturally, and people don't naturally show up at board game cafes or go to community centers hoping that there might be someone playing and willing to play. You could go to a local game store, we sort of hang out for the same reasons, right? So the likelihood of someone thinking a TCG is a good idea there is quite high. Now, finding someone outside those is sort of a hit and miss, and and that leads me to what we sort of need. So I did a bit of brainstorm, and and one of the key things is going back to the bloke I met at ClashCon. He was, as far as he knew, the only player in his city that it was playing Alpha Clash. And to me, he's from a city with more than 500,000 people. If he's the only person interested in Alpha Clash, that to me sounds bonkers. In a city of that size, that to me sounds absolutely wild. But I recognise that he might not know more people that play Alpha Clash, just like they don't know him. And one of the reasons for that is that we have no easy way of finding each other. I've been engaged in this game for a couple of years, since the Kickstarter really. I've been creating content for it for quite a while, trying to be active on Discord whenever I can, on YouTube and Instagram, whenever and wherever I can. And for all of that, I only know of one game store in Europe that hosts events. It's in Plymouth. And about less than 10 people outside the ones I've introduced to Alpha Clash, which I sort of captured into it or coaxed into it. I only know about less than 10 people, without counting them specifically. Less than 10 people in all of Europe. Now, of course, there are more than 10 people in all of Europe that play this game. So what gives? Well, one of the things that gives is that we can't find each other. We don't have an easy way. So what I would wish for is somewhere where we could register, maybe not our addresses, but something that will go out with the products from the game stores, online or physical, where you could register to find other players. Now, every time you open a Magic pack, there is this Magic Arena card in it. If we could do something like that, that would be great. Now, having cards added to boxes is an expense, and it's not the Rising Empire Studios. I was about to say it's not their field to create a community. It sort of is. It's not the community's responsibility to do so. That is the creators of the game. But having something in there to give us a chance to register might as well be a community thing. But if we could put something in packs that would sort of guide you to where you could find other players. Now, I know that there is, on the website, there is an event locator. But before you put down events, you sort of want to do some marketing for it, meaning you need to at least have enough to be certain or relative certain that there will be enough people for the event. When you do your first events, you don't have that. So you need to have a way to communicate with these other people. Local game stores have it, because every time they sell a box, they can tell about, hey, have you seen that we are doing this on Mondays? Where community creators outside the game stores do not have that ability. So what I would hope that we could get is somewhere where you can register that you did that you are a player and want to find people in your area, or at least region or country or something, to get this going. I think that would be a very, very good idea. Now, it still needs community leaders, and to that extent, I would propose extending the ambassador program or making a community leader program. Not as fancy as the other, but if I register an event, no matter if I'm a store or a private person, and other people register at that event, I get sort of event points. Meaning that if I create enough event points with enough different people coming to my events, or enough people being at the events, registering deck lists, all of that, whatever the event might take, it could be a seal, for instance. If we could do something like event points, where you don't get points in normal sense, meaning that you rank as players, but you rank as game masters, if I say, as hosts of this, and you can sort of just like my wish list wished for a sort of community promo recognition sort of thing, which I've heard is reintroduced, which is great. That something like that could be a way to say, oh, wait a minute, Lee from the Tavern Brawlers, he puts up like a 1.5 million events. I don't know how you recognise him, but I'm certain you do. I mean, he's an awesome guy. For the little I met him at ClashCon, everyone impressed at ClashCon. But he could be the words I'm looking for is he could be a subject for such a recognition, simply because he is making the effort. He may not be on social media, well, he sort of is. He may not be big on social media or create a lot of content in that way, or create a lot of knowledge about it, but this could be a way to measure engagement otherwise. So, now I've already rambled on for quite a bit. The thing is, the point I'm trying to get is that we need some support for non-LGS communities, and I will consider if I could do it with the local game stores that I buy at, simply giving them a chance to add a token demo, a token card with every Alpha Clash purchase, saying, hey, if you want to play this game physically, head on over to wherever and register where you're at in the world, and you could get together and we could grow the community. Something like that, and something to benefit those who actually make events once we found each other. Anyway, that is it. I've been rambling for almost 20 minutes. Oh my God. And I'm almost at work, so I will sign off here. Thank you for listening, and talk to you soon. Bye.